Hi, everyone. I'm Shayna J with One Heart Mission, and Urban Wisdom now is my new podcast channel. I'm so excited. And here is my dear friend Isaac George from all the way from the UK, extraordinary astrologer and spiritual teacher, and he has so many tricks up his sleeve. I couldn't even tell you how many, but when we get into conversation, you will see what they are. He's amazing. So thank you for joining me again, Isaac.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here once again, especially since you're in a place that's much warmer than where I'm at right now. So I'm
A
getting some of
tad.
the rays and some of the warmth and the
I'll give you some
trade
more.
wind breezes. Yeah. It's
Betcha.
so it's a joy and a pleasure to be here again. Thank you.
Thank you. It's so I love our conversations. So I wondered what you might think of the pulse of the consciousness at this time. So I have a little story to tell you and then to give you a chance to kind of get where you want to be with that. When I
Fair
was in
enough.
India, when I was in India for the very first time, one of the things that I was told was by my teachers that they were answering a call. And they went on to explain that the reason in the Indian culture, one of the reasons or one of the beautiful ways that reincarnation works is that when there is a call for from humanity, in other words, from prayer, as well as a divine intervention, and the two meet into one, and the timing is perfect astrologically, then the prayers get answered. And so in 1949, the same year I was born, my teacher, Sri Bhagavan from India, Oneness University in India, was born and only at 3 years old realized his mission, the knowledge, and the way came later, around 1980s. But no, yeah, he had it earlier, he just didn't know the form. So he is blessing everyone in the whole world with an awakening, the steps to get to your awakening, however that is, and eventually possibly even enlightenment. He answered a call. He answered a prayer from the collective. And so we've grown a lot in the last 70 years. And I'm wondering, and I started asking my divine, well, so what is the calling now? What is the consciousness calling for now? These days, in these times, we've gone through so much transition, change. What do you think, Isaac?
That's a big one to cover. That's a big one. Um,
As only I can do. I like big questions.
I have I really it's seldom when you bring up or you state a question like that, it is so far reaching and entangled with all kinds of other things. I kind of have to do an Eckhart Tolle and just be silent with it for a moment.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a good thing.
it clears the mind noise out of the way, for one.
Mhm.
There is, from my experience, a certain relevancy and truth to your commentary about how things are initiated, about anything that occurs that is going to affect some sort of change to the global or collective consciousness. Okay. Consensus reality or consensus consciousness and collective consciousness are different in
Yeah.
my state, even though they're still merged together.
Excuse me.
Gesundheit.
Ah, sorry. I just got a shiver. It must have been something you said.
I don't know. Um, you know, so I have to kind of like set aside a bit of what I'm tussling with regarding even the nature of reincarnation and karma, because I don't want to have that creep in from the side and undermine what I want to say. Um, because I have certain, I don't know if opinions is the right word. I have certain knowings about those two items
Yeah.
that do have a very strong bearing on what your question is about. But if I stick with just the question, what is going on? What is the reason? I have to first of all drop into the personal, and is that sense at age 4 and 5 that I did know where it came from, that I was here to do something important. If I could only remember what in the world that was, then everything would be okay. But even if I knew what it was, I probably wouldn't be okay, because the knowing of that on a very visceral level happened when I had that encounter with what I had thought was, and we discussed this previously, what I thought was an encounter with Archangel Ariel in a meadow when I was 7 years old. That was not it.
Okay.
That was my Christian upbringing, programming, conditioned mind projecting something on there from from the new age that didn't really have any bearing in
Yeah.
truth. It had fragments of truth in it, but it didn't have the whole
Yeah.
truth. But when I looked at that reaction, the knee-jerk reaction I had to that experience at age 7, and relived it through hypnotic regression, it was a fear of what would happen if I actually spoke my mind and responded to the call from inside. If I actually expressed how I felt, how I perceived things, how I deduced what was happening or what I thought was going on, that there would be this sense of what you're saying is heretical, what you're saying is not making me comfortable, you are not welcome here, your perceptions and your words are not welcome here, you are exiled, you are persona non grata, get the heck away,
Right.
and that felt like a rejection by the whole
Yeah.
human race. That
Yeah.
felt like a rejection or persecution or a fear of persecution, violence, death, that may have been from past lives, probably. But I have no empirical evidence or proof of that. I just know that somehow, by being who I was told I needed to be in order to be authentic and true, was not going to be welcome in all quarters. And to be different and to not follow the group mind or the group think was not going to win me a lot of friends. I was not, could be a lonely journey, a lonely
Yeah.
path. Very, could be too much solitude for my liking.
Right.
Now, to some degree, we all play that out. We try to be the people pleaser, and we want love. These are conditioned responses from childhood
Mm-hmm.
with the people around us that we're supposed to trust, that we're supposed to believe they're in our best interest, and that we're very vulnerable and very impressionable and imprintable at that point. So when I look now, I look out now, I don't think I can feel any more isolated or driven into solitude than I already have been,
Yeah.
because exactly what's going on right now, the pulse of what's going on right now, the divisiveness that you see, the people that have lost friends of 30 and 40 years of length because of the differences in opinion or the differences in perceptions around what is happening, has destroyed and split apart families. It's destroyed and split apart old time friends. It's destroyed any sense of the continuity we had.
Mm-hmm.
Um, think of it this way. Remember 10 years ago in 2011, and we were the 99%, and we were standing up and doing, Occupy Wall Street, and the Arab world is uprising against its oppressive leaders. And it looked like, gosh, it's finally going to happen now,
Yeah.
and it all got squelched
Yep.
very dramatically and very forcibly.
Yeah. It didn't really
And
live out its whole
no,
desire.
but what is happening now, courtesy again of the astrology, is the shadow side of Saturn and Aquarius, and especially the shadow side of Aquarius, which is, the Aquarian principle. It's like, oneness, beauty. We're all in this, we're all connected. We are life itself and all that kind of stuff. But the shadow side is evidenced by everybody who is looking at anyone with a differing perspective or opinion or information that is contrary to the official narrative or to people's perception, based entirely on fear, a knee-jerk reaction to self-preservation at all costs with regard to SARS-CoV-2, with regard to vaccinations, which they are not vaccinations. It's a story for another time. But this idea that because your friend choose to get the jab and you don't, and you tell them, no, I'm not going to get it, boom, the split happens. It's happened to me 3 times in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
Boom, the split happens. And you have to recognize there's going to be a lot of grieving around this stuff.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of grieving, because the split is the shadow side of Aquarius is saying, I'm wearing this mask for your sake. I'm doing this for your sake. I'm doing this for you. You should do the same for me. So it's this kind of pressure to be part of the group, and the individuation is to be suppressed.
Mm-hmm.
The individual spirit is to be marginalized, dampened down, so that we all make it. We all survive.
Mm.
But is that what is happening? Or are we watching the lemmings to the sea herd mentality, where, if somebody from the government told you jump off a cliff, it'll save your life, would you do it? So we have this, I think it's kind of a created window of opportunity to decide not so much what side are we on, but what values do we align with. And if the value is to heed the calling within, whatever that may constitute and whatever that may require. There was a phrase that Tashira Tachi Ren used to talk about in the What is Light Body book, and and all the Archangel Ariel stuff that she brought through in the late 80s, early 90s. Spirit, require of me whatever it takes, which means your individual survival as you know it is subservient to that. Your how much you earn, how much, whether you have a job or not, whether you're living on the streets or living in a $5,000 a night hotel room, that's not up to you. Are you willing to go to that length that your life as an expression of love is meaningless without your trusting in that? So if I can't trust that, and my attachment to my identity and my survival is based on whether I have a $600,000 a year job, or I'm living in a $5,000 a night hotel, or a $5,000 a month condo, it doesn't matter. Am I in alignment with my core divine value? Am I in alignment with that which is going to sustain me regardless of my ideas of what sustainability and survival mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's a headspace thing. So what we see happening right now is, at an astrological and energetic level, is basically saying some are going to get on the bandwagon and some ain't. Are you okay with that?
Or are you going to let it divide you even more?
The division is superficial to me. To me, the division is superficial. And even people now, just in the last 12 hours, people, I plug into mass media to find out what part of this pulse is about. I check it every morning. The UK newspapers online. I find out, see what comments are. A headline hit about 4 hours ago that finally, after weeks of denial, the European Medicines Agency has finally admitted, yes, there's a connection between these brain hemorrhaging and blood clot incidences, and it is connected to the AstraZeneca vaccine. And all of a sudden, what was the knee-jerk reaction on a number 10 Downing Street? Go get the jab. It's completely safe.
Oh, wow.
So you get, even now, you're starting to see the differentiation or distancing between the political spectrum and the so-called experts. All right. This is just beginning because of the upcoming new moon next weekend.
Oh, next
This is
weekend.
just the beginning of what I consider, that's really the new year. And all the other astrologers are saying it. The beginning of the new year wasn't just March 21st, the astrological new year, March 21st, sun moves in Aries. This is the first new moon in Aries. This is the starting gun. We're coming out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all the race cars are getting the green flag at the Indy 500. Now they're going to go. But part of this energy is between the full moon that we had in Libra and a new moon in Aries. It's like, okay, what do you align with? How are you going to be able to do the reset that and the reflection required that says this belief system no longer valid, this tradition no longer valid, dump it overboard. You can't carry this anymore. Julie Carter, the author of the book World Bridger, said tradition is nothing more than a refusal to evolve.
Wow. That's a great statement.
Yeah,
How true.
it's basically an excuse not to evolve. And so when people say, but we have to have these traditions, oh, do you?
No.
Did humanity get along with them before they existed?
Well, before there were those traditions, there were other traditions that changed into new traditions. That's what we're doing
but they
now.
become straitjackets over time.
Right.
They cripple the mind's ability to break out of the envelope or the construct. The glass ceiling is there because it's like, oh no, maybe we can't go past that glass ceiling. That's not okay. You know, this is kind of more of that Old Testament stuff. Don't cross this line.
Right.
Don't cross this line. Okay, you've crossed that. Don't cross this line now. You know, there's always this prohibition, this taboo. And we're dealing now, we're seeing the result of that imprinting that's lasted for 10,000 years. And when we look at what the so-called science of these injections are, they are not much further away from the old Atlantean, we're going to mess with genetic codes and cloning and rewrite nature's code sequence, the genetic sequence or genome, the way we think it ought to operate, which is another interference into the natural order or divine order of things.
Right.
It won't end well. That's basically it.
Certainly
but you can't stop other people from doing it. And you can't stop saying, oh God, I'm going to just give in and get the darn thing and everybody will stop bothering me. So, I mean, I'm picking on one particular hot button item to illustrate this principle. And the principle is, are you going to listen to your calling? Are you going to listen to your gut? Are you going to stop and think things through in a cognitive, logical manner? Or are you just going to go along with the crowd? You're going to be part of the herd.
Right.
So that's what's going on. And it's going to come to a head. And I think in the long run, it has beneficial aspects to it. Mm-hmm. But for, I can't predict all the different permutations of this, and neither should I try.
Right.
I think everybody's got to come to their own truth about it.
Yeah.
So one of the ways I do that is through humor. For one thing, as far as not managing anxiety or managing fear, it's just acknowledging the fear is there. It's thick as bricks everywhere. It's there. Yeah. Let's not pretend it's not there, because that doesn't really serve. Right. So it's part of the whole thing. It's part of the whole thing. Is it irrational? Sure. Is it helping to drive people more and more into isolation and solitude, or feeling of, if I don't go along with this, I'm going to be thrown out of the tribe. I won't get food anymore. I won't be able to go to my job anymore. That's a terrible thing to labor under. Nobody has the right to do that. Nobody has the right to, just like, it's the Me Too movement. I talk about Occupy Wall Street 11 years ago. How about just 3 years ago? Me Too. No more.
Yeah.
I will do with my body what I want to do. And if I say, no, you can't touch me, I'm going to mean it.
Yeah.
And now
You're going to
everybody's
listen.
racing to throw that right overboard, to govern your own health and to make the decisions that best suit you and your body without outside interference or pressure.
Yeah. Well, so I'm wondering if you came to a conclusion similar to what I did, is that the time in isolation that we've been has been forced upon us, for me, and I hope for others, it gave us a chance to reassess our values and what
Oh,
it is
yeah.
that we want and what is most important to us, and how are we going to express ourselves going forward without, say, feeling like we have to go backward to go forward.
Oh, yeah. I don't think
Yeah.
there's going to be any room for that.
Yeah. I mean, it
Uh,
seems like we've been pushed into a place where we needed to really take a deeper look. And in taking that deeper look, that's why the question came to me. Well, then, so what is the consciousness looking for, needing, wanting? What is next? I hope it's values, their own values.
you can't, you can, I think you expect and desire or wish for the best outcome, but it's not guaranteed. Nothing's
No,
guaranteed.
right.
There's nothing guaranteed here. And there is no plan. You got to have a plan. But that doesn't mean there is some sort of plan enforced for a particular outcome to occur. That would not be in alignment with what love is, which is allowing, even to allowing to the point in which we exterminate ourselves. Okay. But that's really kind of, again, it's a surface thing, because life cannot be destroyed. It changes form. The energy changes form. E
Right.
equals mc square, but it can never be destroyed. I go back to the old Brahmin scripture, there never has been a time that I have not been. There'll never come a time that I will not be. Which essentially is the core truth of every living thing.
Yeah.
Every living thing
Yeah.
continues. And, you can say, okay, well, that's a kind of a Buddhist thing. Well, so be it. Yeah, everything is temporal. Nothing lasts. Everything changes. But it's sort of like the only thing you get out of this lifetime, you and I get out of this lifetime with, is our memories. And
Yeah.
what our experiences are, and how they have become absorbed into the soul and absorbed into the experience of all that is.
Yeah.
That's what you get to take. So what is going on the planet isn't okay. And I think it's okay to say that's part of it. What's going on right now is not okay. And that's okay.
Yeah. Well, so so let me just reflect on something that you said.
Mhm.
At the beginning of the new year, the real new year, which is the Aries new moon. And I remember you teaching me that in Sedona. That can you um, expound a little more on how that might affect people in this time that we live, where right now we're still experiencing isolation, as you mentioned, division, as you mentioned, those things. So what can we do with the Aries new
Those
moon?
are,
Or, it
I
get,
think it's an expectation that those restrictions, that constriction, is going to start breaking apart. It cannot continue ad infinitum.
uh-huh,
So this is where we start seeing the battleground between Chiron and Aries, Pluto in Capricorn, and on the other side, Uranus in Taurus and Saturn in Aquarius. So it's like this this tension between the two things, Yes, I mean, if I was being exact as far as an astrologer, Aries is at 60, or Chiron is at 6 degrees Aries. Pluto's all the way up there at 26 degrees of Capricorn. So that square is extremely wide. It doesn't function as an exact aspect, but they're in the same houses that are square to each other. So I consider them to be part of the tapestry of this. But the big story is the tension between Uranus, freedom, the freedom to choose, the freedom to act, the freedom to speak, the freedom to not be dictated to, the freedom to not be constricted. And Saturn in Aquarius saying, through technological innovation, you will be controlled. So the Black Mirror, the track and trace,
Yeah.
The COVID passport,
Yeah.
it's digital. It's digital authoritarianism.
Right.
Okay. So myself, I'm not the only astrologer that sees the whole Saturn Jupiter conjunction that occurred December 21st as being not so benign, not so helpful in terms of how we traditionally, in traditional astrology, view those planets and view those signs. Saturn was the ancient ruler of Aquarius. And so it trumped the power of the energy of Jupiter and Aquarius, because Saturn is the natural or ancient ruler of that sign. Uranus has been given sort of, handed off. Here, you can have Aquarius, Uranus. And and Uranus, they kind of work together in that way, the positive aspects. But there was the shadow side of Uranus. Well, he's like Prometheus. He's a thief. He stole power from without permission from somewhere and gave it to humanity. So we realize that these are also archetypes in each of us. They're I make it sound like that's out there and it's making us do things. It's not. It's the reflections of what's going on in the human experience, the reflections of what's going on right now on the planet. They illustrate, amplify, or try to trigger and get us to look and say, maybe I don't have to go along with the herd. Maybe I can be me, and I don't have to sit on the fence anymore and wonder which way is the wind blowing. I think I'll just go with the way that feels right.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't think anybody gets to go through this year sitting on the fence anymore. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Right.
They'll say, well, let's wait and see what happens and we'll decide then. No, you don't get that. You don't get that luxury anymore.
No,
Not after next Sunday.
It's wonderful, actually. I think
it's needed
because each person is so desperately needed that maybe there has been too much laying back and waiting for things to happen or letting other people handle, when in fact, you do drive your own ship.
Yeah, ultimately, you and soul and spirit are all in charge of you, not everybody else. Obviously, you don't want that responsibility. And so when you go right back to that, you really basically reinforce one of the basic things about spirituality: follow your own spirit without hesitation.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you froze for a second. There you are. I missed what you just said because you froze for a second.
I said it's just that old, again, another way of saying that is, well, follow your own spirit without hesitation with every step you take and every breath you make, or every breath you have, whatever. Please don't start the police song.
Right. I was thinking that.
Yeah, well, I'm a little psychic. But I think people need to ready themselves for it actually getting more intense and definitely a lot weirder as these tensions arise between these two camps, these two ways of understanding what nature is, what health is, what freedom is, what choice is. Going forward, is it helpful for all millions of people to live in big cities. I don't think that's tenable anymore. It was interesting on the eve of 2001's infamous 9/11 attacks. I ran across a book called Silence of the Heart by Paul Ferrini. And in there's an actual section on community. And the subtitle to both of those books, the book ends to that series, was Reflections of the Christ Mind. Not Jesus, not the persona, just Christ consciousness. And it was like, do not consider that the future is going to look like megalopolises all connected by digital technology. The future is small communities, 100, 150 people. That's it. Anything beyond that requires hierarchy in politics to operate. It doesn't workable anymore because it's no longer in sustainable relationship and harmony with the planetary and the rest of the ecosystem and the rest of nature. It is completely contrary to it.
Right. It's not sustainable.
It's like going back to the way the old matriarchal tribes operated prior to the invention of agriculture.
Yeah.
But with the hindsight and wisdom and knowledge that we have now of 6,000 years of ego and overactive intellect, okay? It doesn't mean logic is bad or the left brain intellect is bad. It just becomes into a different symbiotic relationship with the heart and with the spirit.
Yeah.
It's more spirit directed. It's like, okay, we can use a computer to catalog all knowledge that we have and access it, for the purposes of what? Automating and providing for every person alive on the planet all their basic needs at no cost. Gee, what a concept.
Yeah.
What are you going to do then with your life? Oh, I can spiritually evolve. I can explore art. I can explore writing. I can explore dancing. I can explore consciousness. I can spend more time developing a super awareness, a macro awareness of all life. It's like that is the only task there is, if you want to call it a task. Have a more fun. Oh gosh, yeah, what a concept.
Oh man, no, I love that. And that's what this year has given me. Is looking at what are the things that I've never done that I've always wanted to do, and can I do them now?
Well, I think you're going to feel more of a sense of that at the end of this week and in the weeks to follow the new moon.
Oh, wow. I'm feeling it already. There was a shift yesterday. Easter Sunday.
Yeah. And there's another one coming at the end of the month, which is really, I'm going to find it. Did I calculate that one? This is a supermoon, one of 4 this year.
Oh.
On April 28th, is it? Let me check.
Don't ask me.
Oh no, I'm just checking.
Look it up.
We'll just ask the listeners to stand by while we check the time traveling machine here. When does this happen? Yeah, this is a whiz banger as we. it's a loaded stick of dynamite. It's in Scorpio, moon in Scorpio. 27th of April. And would that be the 26th? Here in London is the 27th of April anyway.
It's a full moon on the 26th of April?
27th here, 26th where you are.
I'll be darned. That's the day, the anniversary, the 24th anniversary of my fall.
Well, you're going to have an interesting time.
You bet I will.
It happens at 3:32 in the morning UK time. British summer. Oh, hold on. Okay. I've got to recalculate the chart for British summer time. One moment. I keep trying to see, we're on our daylight savings time. So British summertime is like Eastern daylight savings time. Okay. So if I recalculate, I think it comes in, or man, BST. No, it's still in UT. Geez. Okay. So basically I have to jump an hour ahead. So it's at 4:32 a.m. here, which would be in the East Coast, 11:32 a.m. or p.m.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's when this one happens, and it's just a big, if not bigger, than the one next weekend.
So what's next weekend?
Next weekend is the new moon. That's the new moon at 22 degrees of Aries.
Okay.
And Venus is right next to it at 26 Aries. So this is going to be an interesting thing because Venus in Aries is called to be in its fall or detriment because Venus isn't like being in the sign of Aries, which is Mars ruled. But see, this is, since that full moon, which was about 11 days ago or whatever, or 10 days ago. No, not even that, 8. So that was the crossing over. If you can imagine this, imagine that for the last basically 2 months, all the planets, everything has been gathered on one side of the zodiacal wheel behind the nodal axis, the north node. Can I screen share? I can show this.
Yes, I'm pretty
Why
sure
don't you give me permission to
Is
screen
it
share on
asking
my
for
side?
permission?
Yeah, down there on the
Okay,
video thing,
options.
go to video settings.
Weekend, multiple participants can
There we go. You have to allow.
Now can you share?
I'm going to try. Yes, it works.
All right.
Okay, so here is the new moon in Aries chart for the 12th where I'm at, the 11th where you're at. So it actually happens on the 12th, which is what day? Monday. Yeah. So it's early Monday morning, 2:30 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, British summertime. So it'll be 10:30 in the evening where you are.
Okay.
So here it is. Here's the sun and the moon, and there's Venus. Now, if you notice, Mars, which is the ruler of all of this, is now 10 degrees past the north node. Prior to the last full moon on April 4th, this was behind this. So everything was clustered behind the nodes of fate. Everything was clustered on this side of the chart. Everything except the vertex and Vesta. That hadn't happened in a long time.
Wow.
And a lot of people don't pay attention to how the whole left or southern side of the chart has been weighted behind the north node and the south node. Now, the nodes of fate is one way to think of them. The north node is also the soul's marching orders or direction, the desire and evolutionary intent that the soul has. And the south node is its karmic baggage or the unconscious choices made that are still running like habit patterns in the background. Now, in transiting nodes, all this means is what is happening right now? What is happening? What happened then? What happened now? What's happening right now? All of this, Mars included, was all on this side of it. Well, Mars has just skipped across right after the full moon, skipped across the north node, and is the rogue planet on this side of the chart. There's, nothing here except Mars. So when we translate that to say, okay, we get further into Aries, first we have Moon, Venus, and Sun at 22 Aries on the 11th, 12th. And then when we get up here to the 27th, 26th, where you are, our moon is now in Taurus, or sun, the sun is now in Taurus. Moon is now in Scorpio. And this is a super moon. So the moon is physically in, I think it's perigee, it's closer to the earth.
Yeah.
So the pull in the tides is when you get the Easter tides, so-called, this pull is stronger. Gravitational pull is stronger, distorts the atmosphere and magnetosphere of the planet, our planet more. We get Venus and Mercury together in Taurus. We got all this stuff in Taurus. There's Uranus. So the sun is going to leapfrog over Uranus, which is at 10 degrees Taurus. So when does that happen? This is also important because Uranus-Sun conjunctions are very strong. And you may see, there may be, how should we say it, earth changes. There may be some rock and rolla. There we go.
Really?
Yeah, there we go. On the 30th, just 3 days past, you have Uranus-Sun conjunct and Venus and Mercury. You have this major stellium all in Earth sign in Taurus. Mars is by now in Cancer, and going to come into an opposition, which is the next trigger. Mars opposing Pluto. So, this is like watching a dance. This is like watching a dance,
Wow.
right? So we're going to get up here. This is a little further down the road. But here we go. Mars opposing Pluto, roughly on the anniversary of D-Day. Not too far off, really.
No.
Yeah, June 6th, 2021. So we watched this clockwork alignments over and over again. What do they represent? Now the sun's in Gemini. I'm going to stop the share there. It's basically an illustration of, here's the potential energy in this given moment. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Your choice, your call.
Yeah.
Your call. So how this manifests for those who haven't developed awareness, and I heard this from one of my fellow astrologers who's going to be on my show, Eric Francis, and he said, our everyday job is, okay, I'm aware. How much more aware can I get today?
Right.
What is it that I know, the knowing that I don't know, the knowing of which would change everything, which is Neil Donald Walsh quote, but it still applies. It's sort of like, okay, I'm this aware, but maybe there's something I can do to actually
Be a little more aware.
Fluff that out a little bit more, so
Fluff
I'm not feeling, fluff it out. So we're not, I think the most unhelpful thing in all of this that we are talking about here, or anybody's talking about, is stop feeling like a victim.
Exactly. Grow
because,
up.
Yeah, self-responsibility is part of that awareness thing. Okay,
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what I'm aware about today, what is essential that needs to be done, what can I set aside, where am I keeping myself busy so I can ignore what's going on,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of this displacement that I've seen occurring for the last year. But also, there's also this very human thing of like, gee, Larry, who I've been friends with since high school, he's not very approving of the fact that maybe I don't want to do this, genetically modified vaccine thing. And, he's no longer my friend,
Yeah.
How do you grieve that? You have to grieve that and bless them and say, I'm not here to change anybody's mind and make anybody do anything they don't want to do.
Right.
Why would I want them to do that to me?
That's right. Yeah. I don't know. I
It's
don't know
hard.
how that's going to change. I agree that our time of self-awareness has grown tremendously. If
True.
we
That's
take
what
it,
the STR.
if we take it, see, I think there's still people in the thought form that they have to get back to normal. They have to get back to, I know. And even in the languaging, you're stopping yourself from being the magnificence that you are.
Because you're basing your whole reality system on something that was really never real or true to begin with.
Yeah.
We used to joke about it. I think you remember Brian DeForce. We used to
Yeah.
joke about this. It's like he used to say things like, everybody thinks that when everything, going to 5D is that we're still going to have Walmarts. I would just look at him and go, you should be a comedian.
I just invited him to do an interview with me.
Oh, good. Tell him I said hi. Wish him all the best.
I did tell him you said hi in the email.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so that is the thing is I think we're going to also see some of our pictures of reality around what 5D or ascension or enlightenment looks like goes through a huge overhaul the next 10 or 15 years. We're going to be in this Saturn, this
Yeah.
digital age, this imposed artificial intelligence garbage, if I may say that, for at least till 2048.
Oh, wow.
And so the testing ground is at least 18 years long.
Yeah.
So this isn't something about, the next portal coming up in 2022, we're going to have it nailed.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been hearing, I have to say, this may be a little bit of a dig, especially when we talked about the new age, but I've been hearing this kind of stuff ever since the Kundalini awakening of like, it's going to happen next week. It's like, no.
It's all, every week it's going to happen next week. Yeah.
Yeah. I, like I said, I ought to send you that thing, Miss the Portal. I'm suffering from post-portal depression. But they told me it was going to be like this, and it didn't. It came and went, and I missed the portal again.
That's hilarious.
Oh, I'd read it to you, but I have to look for it, and I don't want any dead air on your show.
That's too funny. Yeah.
No, it was absolutely hilarious, and yeah, I think this is this whole process, in a sense, is sort of like, come on, guys, you got to grow up. You have to get out of spiritual adolescence here.
Exactly. And still I talk to people who say they're spiritual. Well, I follow a spiritual life, and I have, my practices. And then I talk to them. I'm curious about what that is.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't go anywhere.
Well, I think this is the other thing that people are finding, and I heard this in a very heartfelt way from Eric Francis, is that he has two contemporaries in the world of astrology, well-known, who I'm not going to name here, authors, workshop leaders, big voices at all the big astrology conventions. They're telling people to go get the vaccines. They're not medical authorities. They don't know what the hell is best for people.
Really?
Why are they doing that? They're on the bandwagon trying to do this stuff, and it's not okay. Or, how many yoga teachers do I know that have decided to like get on the bandwagon that everybody should wear a mask and everybody should get the jab? I don't understand it. It's like,
okay, come on.
for years we're saying, I do the kombucha thing, I'm living in the natural way, I'll become vegetarian, and then all of a sudden there's this something switched differently, and they're behaving almost, how we call it,
Robotic.
Yeah, that's
Invisibly
that's the thing.
robotic, like they don't know that they're following a narrative that they don't even believe in, and they're doing it.
Well, that they've never did any due diligence to figure out whether it was a good idea in the first place or not.
And then spread it like that, like there's a newscaster or something.
They become campaigners for it.
Right. That's
okay. They become campaigners for it. And, it's sort of like people in mass media telling you should do this because the expert said so. And it's like, this is, again, we come back to the same theme. The same thing is, who is the authority here? Go look in the mirror.
That's right.
Who's the doggone, this whole thing about authoritarianism and outside authority.
Yeah, Isaac, this is a good topic too.
Well, let's pencil that in for the next one. Because I've got a lot to say on it.
About the authority. I know, because I'm reading the book, The
Guru Papers.
Thank you.
Masks of Authoritarian Power, yeah.
And wow.
I know, that's going to rock you. And then I have another one for you to read after that.
I love it. Well, I'm loving it. I'm loving it because it's like how much of the world that has been hidden. I've been on my own personal discovery to find out what's been hidden from me so I could be aware and make a conscious choice. That's my whole life, period. So
that's it.
Yeah. The thing is, how do you inspire people to to understand that that's such a beautiful experience for them, rather than
Yeah.
something that's a little more drudgery, or maybe they feel like they wouldn't get enough out of it. I just don't know what that veil is that's stopping people from being more of their own authority. Oh, you think? Oh God, it's another peer pressure thing.
It's not just the peer pressure thing. It's what I think I mentioned this on one of the other shows, the quote by Werner Erhard, who founded EST. We don't know what we don't know. But what's becoming clearer and clearer to me is it's always been there hiding in plain sight.
Absolutely.
Marshall McLuhan, the media analyst and professor at Toronto University, discussed the impact and power of electronic media on people's consciousness, on human consciousness, in lectures and books from 1961 to 1969. Mainstream never paid any attention to him, but his son Eric has carried on. And what we need to understand and come to grips with is that billions of people are walking around with these and interfacing with them 15 hours a day and not having a single clue as to what it is doing to their consciousness and to their neurological makeup, and
Well,
to
this is
they're
what.
actually to the neural pathways in their brain.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually do want to have this as a conversation at another time.
Okay, so you got the authoritarian thing, and then tech. The choice is clearly going to be clear, and it's going to be, if you want to look at it black and white, organic, inorganic,
Exactly. Well,
organic,
I will say
inorganic.
there are, if your consciousness is open to it, there are things that you can interact with on your phone that are interesting for your growth, that are valuable, that are inspiring, that will help you to move into that next level that you're so yearning for.
But you need to understand the pitfalls, and if you don't know what those are, you can't even avoid them on those things.
Yeah.
And the pitfalls uh, we'll describe or explore in another episode, because we're getting into the field of artificial intelligence and the manipulation of people's dopamine and everything else through the very nature of the machine itself,
Yeah, I see.
not just the way the apps are constructed. Yes, there are beneficial ones. There are, some really good things out there. It's like in my interviews with David Helpling, the ambient electronic guitarist and musician, composer, which you haven't maybe heard yet. Here's a guy who's so heart-based and so talented in a very, very unschooled way, but his medium is to record, to be in the recording studio in the digital realm of the computer and turn things
I
into
don't
these
know.
beautiful, amazing music that
Oh,
when you listen to it, you're not even thinking this is electronic music. It's not
wow.
there. It's not there. You are immersed in, there's like, that digital medium has not imparted any of its own nature into the music.
Wow.
When you understand that, you understand this guy's an alchemist. He has changed the very nature of the medium and brought it under the control of organic consciousness.
Wow. Wonderful.
And we discussed that in the interviews. So I'll send you the links. But
Please do.
that's what can be done with this: bring the technology to heal and take it out of the control of AI. And the control of AI and where that stems from, that's the topic for that show.
Yeah. All right. Good. We will do that next time.
Yay.
I
All
love
right.
it. I love
We
it. I
can
love it.
put both of those topics in whatever sequence you want.
I know. And see, this is what one of the things I love about talking with you is because we create the evolution in our conversation.
Make no mistake, and this is for your listeners or anybody else that happens to run across this, no matter how small you think the contribution of your mind and your words and your actions are, they do make a difference.
Definitely make a difference.
There's nothing inside of you. There's nothing else you need. It's all there inside of you.
Yeah.
It's all there already. And, there's, I love this. I re-listened to, I'll send you this clip, this MP3. It's an old lecture that happened in Sedona in 1994 by
Oh,
remember E.T. Earth Mission?
oh my
Mhm.
goodness. Wow.
A blast from the past. This is Savazar gave a talk, a lecture in Sedona in 1994 on boogie busting, transcending the fourth dimension. It's funny as heck, but also incredibly practical. And in there, at one point, he says, the reason that people make deals with disincarnates without even realizing it is because they think somehow the power is outside of them,
Yes,
you know. But if you know that that's not true, then why would you ever ask for anything from anybody else? Because you have everything already.
absolutely. Yeah.
See, and so
The
he's,
thing is getting to the point where you know that's not true.
but there's so many layers to go through. And if you are not aware, if you are operating in that place of Werner Erhard, there's, we don't know what we don't know. That's the beginning of that awareness game, as opposed to knowledge.
Yeah.
Now you're going into awareness. Now you're going into the place where wisdom can be the accumulated experience of all that knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So wisdom is like knowledge applied, but without awareness, you might go out and make another atomic bomb or something.
Right.
It's
Right.
like, and scratch your head. Well, maybe this isn't a good idea,
Yeah.
Try again.
And again.
Oh, no, that didn't work. Okay, back to the drawing board.
One more time.
That's the thing, what's the secret? What's the secret of life? Choice.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I had a choice, I'd have the perfect taco right now.
Ooh, yum, yum, yum.
Jackfruit, pulled pork taco.
Discovered a good taco right down the street from me, which I'm very happy about.
See, you do this to me every time. You get me jealous.
And have you ever had a Cuban empanada?
No, and it probably has things inside of it I cannot eat because I'm vegetarian.
Sweetie, it doesn't matter. You have to eat it. No,
there's that Saturn and Aquarius thing. Please conform. Eat this.
You know what I love? What I love about it, I'll just give you this one little thing. It's not made with flour.
Well, there's a lot of Indian cooking like that. Parathas are made from gram flour, which is chickpea.
Well, this is.
You can eat a million of them, but
this is
I wouldn't recommend it.
Cornmeal.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
It's delicious.
I love Cuban
I tell you
food.
what, my body loved it because I had the best experience after I ate it. I was like,
I don't know. If this is a family show, you don't want to share. No, I understand. There was a little Cuban restaurant in Richmond, Virginia I used to go to. I just used to go there for the bean dishes and the Cuban toast. I loved it.
Oh, the beans. Oh, yeah. They do beans really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mwah.
Okay,
on
love.
That note,
I'm going to give you a kiss and hug.
When we got to get rid of this virtual stuff?
I know. I want a real hug so bad.
You can have it. You're in Florida. You're not locked down, are you?
Well, you know what? I had a wonderful friend from California tell me she's driving through and going to the Keys in Florida. And so she's going to come by and spend an hour with me. I'm like, oh my God, a real life person.
A real life, flesh and
blood. A real
life
life person that I could actually hug and, yeah.
That'll be ecstatic.
That'll be very
well. That's
wonderful.
Great. Good for you. Good on you.
Yeah.
We're still
kind of I manifested that. I'm very happy.
You certainly did.
All right, love. We'll talk again soon. I want to keep you on your schedule. And
okay. Thank you.
Send you lots of love and
loads of love to you and everybody that you connect with and all the people who watch your lovely podcast. Thanks, or your whatever you call these webcasts. Thank you.
Webcasts that I'm now using as a podcast.
Cool.
I'm doing both levels of it. So
Yeah, that's what I'm doing too. And
Yeah,
I will send you the links to my last two shows, and of course to that Savazar lecture in Sedona.
please.
You'll
And the
just die with
music.
laughter.
I would
Yeah,
love
that's what
to
I mean.
hear at least one, or send me his name. I'll look him up.
No, I'll send you the actual podcast links for the both shows. They were back to back, part one, part
Okay.
two.
And
Okay.
his music is on there.
Yep.
Awesome. I know you're so good with music. All right, love.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes my heart sing.
I'm gonna go for a swim.
Oh God. You know, we get really up at the end, and she drags me down with that one because I can't go as well.
Oh,
Oh
but it
well.
would make you happy that I get to go for a
All
swim.
right. Well, say hello to a dolphin or a coconut or something for me. All right.
I will.